Missiles have struck an Israeli hospital, and Washington's foreign policy circles are already sounding the call to arms. However, before we plunge into another crisis in the Middle East, we must consider who truly benefits from this turmoil.
Hello, and welcome to That News Show, where we discuss the latest facts, fakes, and hypocrisy as reported by the legacy media. Let's roll the tape.
Fox News reports that Netanyahu is furious with Iran after missiles struck a hospital. Iran's missile attack on an Israeli hospital is undeniably horrific. Why trust them now? Yet, before we heed calls for deploying our troops, let's consider the source. This prompts a critical question. Why does every Middle Eastern crisis immediately lead Washington's so-called experts to advocate for American intervention? But is that truly the solution, or just another iteration of a familiar narrative where American families bear the cost of foreign agendas? These are the same globalist elites and democratic politicians who mired us in endless wars, depleted our resources, and overlooked the needs of ordinary Americans. Here we go.
Well, I think in this stage of the conflict, ever since Operation Rising Lion started, they went into their arsenal and they got things like their Fajr rockets, which are considerably more powerful than the Katyusha rockets that we saw come out of South Lebanon, and dramatically more powerful than the Qassam rockets, which are made in machine shops in the Gaza Strip.
Conversely, Israel's operations aim to weaken Iran's nuclear and military capabilities with targeted and strategic actions. These rockets, supplied and financed by Iran, underscore Tehran's commitment to arming its proxies and destabilizing the region, despite its claims of being a victim of aggression. Iran's direct attacks on civilian targets, such as the Soroka Medical Center, have been justly denounced as war crimes. Mainstream media and globalist elites are already advocating for deeper U.S. involvement, framing the situation as a simple battle of good versus evil, and pressing for unequivocal American support. This conflict teaches us not that America should intervene, but that we must resist the globalist agenda that pulls us into these conflicts. At this point in the conflict, we are witnessing a significant escalation in both the sophistication and the destructive power of the weaponry used. The threat of a broader regional war looms large, with potentially severe humanitarian, economic, and strategic repercussions if cooler heads do not prevail. Americans must consider whether another foreign war enhances our safety or merely benefits the permanent political class and their allies in the defense industry. After investing trillions in the Middle East over the last 2 decades, we have only seen increased instability, a surge in refugees, and decreased security at home. As Operation Rising Lion progresses, the Israeli military's use of F-35I jets, advanced drones, and precision strikes exemplifies what a nation can achieve when it prioritizes its own security and technological superiority. The current administration has adopted a more cautious approach, prioritizing American security and sovereignty and resisting the lure of another protracted Middle Eastern conflict. We must demand accountability from our leaders, resist the urge to intervene in every international crisis, and remember that our government's primary responsibility is to the American people, not to global ambitions or perpetual warfare. Our focus should be on defending our borders, our economy, and our way of life, not on policing the world for interests unrelated to the American people. Historically, both political parties in Washington, particularly under the previous Democrat administration, have advocated for greater intervention, entangling America further and expending more resources and lives in conflicts that stray from our core interests.
We're targeting military sites. We're targeting nuclear sites. We're targeting missile sites. They're targeting a hospital. In this hospital, there are patients who are immobile. They can't even move. Right next to it is a children's ward, a baby's ward, infants. They target it.
Fox News alert have. There you saw it moments ago. The Prime Minister Netanyahu visiting the site of a bombed-out hospital, warning Iran's supreme leader, you cannot continue to exist. Wow. After overnight missile strikes killed innocent civilians and those wounded, or over 80. Our next guest knows all about the Mideast war on terror.
These operations are not merely military successes, but are crucial in preventing Iran from becoming a nuclear threat to not just Israel, but the entire Western world. In stark contrast, Israel's military actions focus on dismantling Iran's nuclear capabilities, including missile sites and command centers. Now, as Israel takes necessary action, these voices are pushing for America to re-enter a Middle Eastern conflict, risking American lives and resources for interests that diverge from our own. This echoes the previous administration's approach, which allowed Tehran to advance its nuclear ambitions. Iran's indiscriminate attacks on civilians, including children, constitute war crimes. Meanwhile, Israel targets only those sites that pose a direct threat, demonstrating both precision and restraint. This act is a clear violation of international law and exposes the true nature of the Iranian regime, which has long supported terror groups and fueled regional instability. While supporting Israel's right to self-defense, it wisely avoids further military entanglement and unnecessary expenditure. And the images from Soroka Medical Center are heart-wrenching. Patients paralyzed, infants in neonatal care, and doctors desperately trying to save lives following a direct missile strike. Hospitals, which serve both Jewish and Arab communities, should be sanctuaries in any conflict, not targets. Such attacks by Iran cannot be justified. Despite this, there are ongoing calls from some political and media figures for increased American involvement, advocating for blank checks and open-ended commitments. As election season approaches, Americans must consider which leaders will avoid unnecessary conflicts and prioritize our national interests.
Yeah, I'm from that generation that has watched Iranians fight against U.S. and U.S. interests really since 1979 when they took our embassy. They've bombed embassies, Khobar towers, through Lebanese Hezbollah, one of their terrorist groups that they sponsor and fund. They've executed attacks on Americans really worldwide. And of course, during the Iraq War, they were a significant threat to us on the ground, and through their explosively formed penetrators that they were providing to the Shia militias, were killing Americans in large numbers.
You said, we dropped the bunker busters, they'll do the job in Fordo. The reaction. If you were on the ground in Iraq, in Syria, Bahrain, our base in Bahrain, or Qatar, where do you think we'd be most vulnerable if they wanted to react? Should it be clear that we dropped the bunker busters on Fordo?
I am quite sure that our military commanders globally are on alert and preparing the capability to defend our troops.
The reports accurately detail the sequence of attacks and the complexities of Iran's proxy networks. In terms of media coverage, Fox News has effectively highlighted the dangers our troops face and the long-standing aggression from Iran. This pattern of aggression includes significant incidents, such as the embassy takeover in Tehran, the Khobar Towers bombing, and relentless attacks on U.S. troops during the Iraq War. Currently, as Israel intensifies its efforts against Iran's nuclear facilities, the risk to American forces in the region has escalated. Visually, Fox News uses maps and on-the-ground reports from military bases, effectively illustrating the risks to our service members. These groups have not only expressed their intentions, but have also acted on them, demanding the withdrawal of U.S. forces from Iraq and threatening further conflict. Since the late 1970s, the Iranian regime has consistently targeted Americans and our interests, marking a clear and hostile stance in their foreign policy. It's crucial to evaluate whether these deployments are in our best national security interests or merely perpetuate a cycle of retaliation and escalation. Our ongoing presence often acts as a trigger for deeper involvement in these conflicts, which seems to benefit the military-industrial complex and globalist agendas more than the average American. Should we continue to expend American lives and resources to maintain a global presence, or should we prioritize protecting our borders, rebuilding our economy, and avoiding further entanglements in Middle Eastern conflicts? After decades of intervention, spending trillions and losing thousands of American lives, the region remains unstable and far from peaceful. Our bases in Bahrain, Iraq, and Syria are on high alert due to threats from Iran's proxies like Hezbollah and Shia militias. Including insights from non-interventionist experts and analyzing the failures of past foreign policies would provide a more complete perspective. This situation raises a critical question. What do we gain by keeping our troops in such volatile environments, involved in conflicts that stray far from our national interests?
U.S. Army Special Forces are really a unique portion of our military capability, really the only organization in the U.S. military that's solely focused on working with indigenous partners such as resistance elements and other partners, primarily to overthrow occupying powers or enemy adversary regimes. So kind of think, World War II, think folks parachuting into France to help the French resistance overthrow the Nazi regime.
The lessons from World War II and the French resistance are clear. By enabling rather than occupying, we uphold our values and safeguard our future. During the war, American and British special operators didn't just sabotage enemy supply lines. They also equipped the French resistance with the training, resources, and confidence needed to counter Nazi occupation. By supporting resistance groups and legitimate local partners, we promote stability and self-reliance over dependency on American aid and military involvement. This shift means fewer resources spent on protracted foreign conflicts and more available for domestic priorities, securing our borders, enhancing infrastructure, and bolstering our economy. Vil aids such as a cost comparison chart between large-scale military interventions and targeted special operations support could effectively highlight these savings. These operations were more than military maneuvers. They were commitments to local autonomy and self-determination, values cherished by all who hold liberty and national sovereignty dear. This approach not only echoes the strategies of World War II, but also builds on them. This innovation streamlines military spending and reduces the indirect costs of conflict, like higher taxes or disrupted supply chains, that small businesses and local communities often bear. This philosophy of prioritizing American interests, supporting legitimate local partners, and steering clear of endless interventions marks a significant departure from past policies of global interventionist strategies. Army Special Forces embody a unique capability within our military, uniquely focused on building alliances with indigenous partners, from resistance fighters to local militias and underground networks, particularly in regions oppressed by authoritarian regimes or foreign occupiers. It aligns with the current administration's focus on putting American security and prosperity first, avoiding the pitfalls of idealistic foreign ventures. It's akin to investing in a small business rather than managing it entirely. You supply the expertise and initial funding, but the local team handles daily operations. Also, the private sector, especially defense and technology industries, benefits from the innovation spurred by Special Forces' needs for advanced, efficient solutions. For American families, this translates into lower risks of inflationary defense spending, fewer market disruptions from global instability, and a stronger, more strong domestic economy. Can you believe this? Tonight, we are urged to accept yet another official narrative, a quick rush to blame and a call to arms. But consider this: who truly benefits when America is pulled into endless conflicts that don't safeguard our national security? Rather, it's the globalist elite and their media allies who have previously supported disastrous interventions under leaders like Biden and Harris, leaving America weaker and more divided. With President Trump at the helm, we finally have a leader who prioritizes America, who steadfastly refuses to send our sons and daughters to fight wars that aren't ours. The crucial question now is whether we will learn from past mistakes or allow the same corrupt forces to dictate our future. Leave your comments below and don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's keep holding them accountable. Good day, good evening, and good night.